I'd like to say a couple quick words and then make some music here in a minute. I'll do it. I have spent about 50 days a year each of the last 2 years in Washington. I last year lobbied through Congress a bill calling for a complete reevaluation of American food and hunger policy because we don't have one. I met with President Carter on February 3rd for a 15-minute meeting about world hunger. There were 7 senators and 8 congressmen with me. I took about 7 minutes, another 2 long Harry Chapin story song, to talk about world hunger. The president said he thought it was a good idea. About a month ago, he appointed a commission to oversee American food and hunger policy. I am one of the 20 members. About a year from now, there are going to be some recommendations coming out of that commission that are going to vastly change things like the fact that we're sending $45.5 million worth of tobacco to starving people under the Food for Peace program. The fact that in 1974 we sent over 50% of the Food for Peace program to the Cambodian and South Vietnamese armies. The fact that there is, in this society, where there's enough food to feed everybody 6 times over. We use half the world's energy, 1/3 of the world's resources, and yet we have, of the 6.5 million retarded people in this country, half had malnourishment as a significant factor in the retardation, and 1 out of every 5 cans of dog and cat food sold in American supermarkets goes to old people that eat it themselves. I think it's truly obscene. And what we are trying to do is to change the direction of American foreign policy in this area. Instead of just supporting some of the most vicious, backward governments in the world with our, quote, help money, do something for the people themselves. Frankly, we're going to be attacking some of the multinational corporations and some of the agribusiness corporations. Now, the reason I am here tonight, and I have done, I think, 17 congressional and senatorial benefits this fall, has been very simple. I do not want to have what I call maintenance men running our country. If you're on the Titanic and somebody's polishing the brass and cleaning the linen and worrying about table settings and not being a lookout, not being on the bridge and worrying about where the hell we're going, or they've got such a gigantic stake in the order of things as they are, then you're not going to get much movement. The exciting thing about having a person like Bill Bradley, who owes nothing to nobody, I'm sorry it's non-grammatical, but it's true, is the fact that representing New Jersey will be somebody that I know I can count on these issues when we're down in Washington and doing the down and dirty work of actually doing something about an issue that's been talked about far too often and only given lip service to. Now I want to give you a perfect example of what I mean by lip service. President Kennedy stood on the steps in Washington in 1961 and said there are 2 great goals for our society in the next 10 years. One is to put a man on the moon, and one is to end hunger. Now think of the seriousness by which we attacked that goal of putting a man on the moon. We tried 87,000 different trajectories. We tried different fuels, different engines, all different kinds of theories. And the amount of ingenuity, energy, stick-to-itiveness was awesome. Think of the way we approach something like hunger. If we sit a program out there, no matter whether it's effective or not, we let it sit there, wasting millions of dollars, supposedly doing something, and it's really crazy because our priorities are all screwed up. So I'm excited about supporting Bill Bradley in New Jersey. I'm excited about the fact that as we move out of the 70s, and this decade has already been dubbed the me generation, the me decade. I'm writing a song called Goodbye to the 70s. I have a feeling that it's going to be looked back upon as the most boring decade in the history of the 20th century. And I think we're going to have to start looking for people like Bill who are not beholden to things as they are, but hopefully can move us in a direction where we truly do something about the kinds of issues I'm talking about. As per usual, and I did $700,000 worth of benefits last year for things I believe in. It's about $2 million over the last 4 years. We raised an extra $150,000 by selling things in the lobby at concerts. T-shirts, programs, and a poetry book that I'm very proud of. And all the money goes to World Hunger Year or the Food Policy Center, which is our lobbying arm in Washington. The sum total lobbying time lobbying money. It cost us $90,000 to get that resolution through Congress. Now, what we're up against is things like the oil company spent $50 million in lobbying in Washington last year, and they got $15 billion worth of tax credits. That's a good investment from their point of view. That $90,000, however, probably is going to have a significant impact on the lives of hundreds of millions of people. So I encourage you to drop a couple of bucks out there if you got your money's worth in here tonight, and I think you did, because Chevy and Dustin were incredible. The Roach sisters, and